Sometimes when an album is released, it simply doesn't find the audience it deserves at the time. American Football are considered the textbook of the Midwest emo sound now, but when their debut album was released in 1999, it fell on deaf ears, only to be rediscovered and heralded decades later. Or what about Nick Drake, who had become the poster boy of the so-called smoke folk scene of the UK in the 1970s? Interest in his classic triptych of records only came about in 1999 when his music was used in a car advert, of all things. Perhaps though no tale of an album finding its audience long after its release is the story of Vashti Bunyan's 1970 record, Just Another Diamond Day. The making of that album is as unique of its rediscovery. The songs of the record are a product of a 2-year journey of the artist and her partner leaving behind the buzz of London to head to the wilds of the Scottish coast. Today we're breaking down that extraordinary record, looking at the songs in detail and why it continues to charm and beguile listeners more than 50 years after it first dropped. In the 1960s, Vashti Bunyan was an art school dropout looking for a sense of direction. She quickly got turned on to music and caught the ear of Andrew Oldham, who at this point was the manager of a young set of London upstarts called the Rolling Stones. You've probably heard of those guys. Seeing something promising within Vashti, Oldham asked her to record a version of the Rolling Stones song, Some Things Just Stick in Your Mind. As first recordings go, it was a somewhat odd choice of song for Vashti. She had a delicate, almost timid vocal delivery, so choosing a song by a rock and roll band as Vashti's debut recording was an awkward choice to say the least. Vashti herself was unhappy with the choice of the song, and the maximalist orchestral-backed pop just didn't gel with her waif-like vocals.
What do you think of the first love you had? Some things just stick in your mind.
Vashti and Oldham decided to change tack with her second single, Train Song. That song, which was written by Vashti herself, was much more her, backed by a slightly spooky, shifting and spectral chord progression. The song tells of a woman on a journey to meet a previous love, uncertain of what she'll find when she reaches her destination.
It's so many months and so long since I've met you. Don't even know what I'll find when I get to you. But suddenly now I know where I belong. It's many hundred miles and it won't be long.
Despite Train Song demonstrating the groove of the sound that Vashti would so comfortably settle into on her debut album, the pair of songs still failed to catch an audience. Whatever initial buzz Vashti attracted had quickly dissipated, and so did any real industry interest in her. Feeling unmoored and left out in the cold by the capricious music industry, Vashti decided to detach herself from it entirely. She caught word that the singer Donovan was setting up a commune in his native Scotland, and she thought, what was the harm in checking it out? So in 1968, Vashti and her partner, the fellow bohemian Robert Lewis, set off to Scotland from London. And just to add some fun into the equation, instead of doing the journey by car like any sensible-minded people would, they decided to do the journey by horse and cart. That's right, horse and cart. Across the length of the UK. I mean, I guess it was the 60s at the end of the day. Perhaps part of that sense of throwing caution to the wind stemmed from Vashti's perceived rejection by the music industry, and also from some personal loss that she had experienced after the recent death of her mum. In an interview in 2010, Vashti said, "When my mother died and my father was very disapproving of my hippie ways, it seemed to be the only thing to do. Just disappear out of conventional life, so that's what I did. Though Donovan's commune would never actually materialise, the time on the road gave Vashti the chance to mentally recuperate from her initial buzz and just focus on making music. Freed from outsider expectation, the songs that Vashti wrote were inherently sunnier and more innocent sounding than other music that was being made of the time. Now, Vashti, like her contemporary John Martin, has always rejected the label of folk, but it's difficult to deny the music she wrote on this journey has that quality. These are songs that sound purified by bucolic air, the sonic equivalent of a dawn walk through a countryside clearing. In these songs, nature recurs endlessly. Take the opening song Diamond Day, for example. In it, Vashti uses repeated naturalistic imagery to illustrate the passing days that make up a life.
Just another diamond day, just a blade of grass, just another bale of hay, and the horses pass.
Those images of nature are the only constant motifs in a set of songs that speak of a childlike view of the world. These are songs of running water, lily ponds, and swallows swooping down from summer skies. In her book Wayward, published in 2022, itself an account of her early years as a folk artist, including the excursion to Scotland that led to this album, Vashti describes how the journey changed how she thought about the nature around her. She writes, "It wasn't that the hills and road and trees became like people in my head, but more that I felt no different to them and saw them all as living in being, possessing some kind of relation to each other and to me. Outside, I'd become a part of my surroundings rather than the player within them." That kind of mutualism that Vashti sought with nature rears its head on the song Glowworms, for example. In the song, Vashti sings of the titular creatures lighting up pathways in her life, as if they were possessed with some kind of primordial wisdom leading her onward.
Glowworms show the path we have to tread. Dreamers we should be asleep in bed.
Or take the song Jog Along Bess, in which Vashti imagines emancipating a leashed London dog from its suburban chains into the freedom of the countryside.
There lived a dog in London town with one ear up and the other ear down. The neighbours said he mustn't bark. The only grass he knew was in Hyde Park. Till one day we took him away. Now blue bounces through fields of hay.
Of course, it's likely this bound dog is a metaphor for Vashti herself, a tale of someone who has their lost confidence restored when they move out and away from the big bad city. However, the soft-focused perspective that Vashti paints on this record is so redolent of a kind of childlike view, it's equally as plausible that Vashti is singing about an actual dog. Elsewhere on the record, reinforcing Vashti's willowy, ethereal approach to songwriting is her interpolation of melodies etched deep into the collective imagination, such as on the track Lily Pond, which itself is a take on the melody of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
In a lily pond I lay all upon a summer's day. Then I chased a dragonfly all across an ancient sky.
Or take the song Iris' Song for Us, in which Vashti intones in Scottish Gaelic, a language that she starts to learn from neighbours when she finally reaches Scotland in her journey. Now, by her admission, Vashti's Gaelic is quite poorly pronounced, but there is still something beguiling about it.
Havi famous murochaun a myrtle hula hjohanna shibvian lumach surita sungulas kjona klasa.
I've always thought this switch into a traditional folk language gives this song a kind of slightly apparitional quality, reminiscent of the music at the heart of the great 1973 movie The Wicker Man. Luckily, unlike The Wicker Man, however, Vashti's vision of the bucolic English scenery doesn't include a need for virginal sacrifice. Just Another Diamond Day was produced by Joe Buoyed, who is perhaps most synonymous with his arrangement work on Nick Drake's albums. But Buoyed had a prolific run across many artists of this period, and his production work on this record here never feels invasive. And Robert Kirby, who was a friend of Buoyed's and who also arranged strings on Nick Drake's records, was also drafted in to sprinkle some magic dust on Just Another Diamond Day. On the song Window Over the Bay, for example, you can hear Kirby's work. On that track, Kirby adds what sounds like a flute or clarinet into the mix, its swooning melody mirroring that of Vashti's vocal line. It adds an evocative pastoral quality.
I wish I had a window over the bay and a dreamy-eyed cow to fill my milking pail.
On one of the album's standout songs, I'd Like to Walk Around in Your Mind, Vashti wonders what it could be like to get inside your partner's head, rather than just speculate on what they're thinking all the time.
I'd like to walk around in your mind someday. I'd like to walk all over the things you say to me.
It's such a deeply emotionally mature song, the kind of lyric that speaks so profoundly, I think, precisely because it's written by someone so young and clear of thought. It's perhaps only matched by the album closer, Winter is Blue, a song Vashti penned about a former lover. The song is a kind of reflection on the passing seasons of love, using the imagery of spring rain to show the fleeting nature of affection, all set to the delicate sound of finger-picked guitar.
Why must I stay here? Rain comes, I'm sitting here, watching love moving away into yesterday.
Winter is Blue is a fitting end to the song cycle on the record. Unlike her troubadour contemporaries, Vashti Bunyan isn't a garrulous raconteur, likely to hold the attention of a rowdy barroom of onlookers. But what Vashti's music does have is a kind of quiet profundity in her whispered, hushed delivery and feather-like structure. The songs on this record feel quite unanchored to the time they were created, leaning more on imagistic depictions of nature and seasonality, rather than commentary on the politics of the day. Vashti herself reflected on what she was looking to achieve with this record. She said in an interview in 2005, "I have thought of the album as a bit of a document of 60s idealism, though at the time I had no self-consciousness as to what kind of songs I was writing. I had no plan to record them, and sometimes still I can't believe I ever let them see the light of day. They were very personal, a way of seeing the world, a childlike way, a way of coping with the relative hardships of the journey." That is perhaps why this set of songs remains so charming. They feel of a different time. They are unpretentious songs that bring to mind the simple, wide-eyed vision of 60s utopia at its most quintessential. Young, free, and naively idealistic. When Just Another Diamond Day was released in December 1970, it fell on deaf ears, never really finding an audience or radio airplay at the time. Crestfallen, Vashti Bunyan left the music business altogether and moved on in her life, prioritising motherhood and raising a family. Decades later, however, Just Another Diamond Day has been rediscovered and reappraised. It's often considered to be one of the great singer-songwriter albums from that era, a cornerstone of the British folk scene as much as Nick Drake, John Martin or Fairport Convention, whether Vashti liked that label or not. Thanks for checking out this documentary and breakdown. If you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy my dissection of John Martin's 1973 record Solid Air, another album that deviated from the traditional folk template, characterised by John's experiments in jazzier and altogether much more mystical soundscapes. You can check that documentary out here. As ever, thanks for watching and catch you in the next video.